On September 2nd, 2018, I had just reached a half century with an extra 5 years bonus to joyfully add. 55 and still alive was my mantra for the week prior, and lingering for a few weeks after my birthday. The following month, on October 11th, I went in for a routine physical and thought nothing of the standard examination, blood tests, and general follow-up comments with my primary care physician. My general practitioner let me know in a few days that all my results were fine, with the exception of my PSA count. It was at 5.1. In the medical arena, this is typically elevated for my age. They say that 0 to 4 nanograms per milliliter is considered normal and involves the prostate. Well, I talked with my physician, and he mentioned that false positives happen all the time. It will probably come down, but we will need to wait a few weeks. Well, after a little bit of discussion, I made an appointment in late October with a urologist in my network, and he did a digital rectal exam where he didn't notice any abnormalities. We had another blood test done, and this time the PSA level was at 5.5. It had increased a little bit more. I was a little concerned, realizing through some research that PSA stands for prostate-specific antigen. I received a note in my health partner's notification system that I needed a biopsy to be scheduled to rule out cancer. Really? A biopsy? Cancer? Well, a little fretting on my own and some concern from my wife, I moved the biopsy appointment up a week to middle of November. And in a prostate biopsy, it's an invasive process where typically 12 samples are taken. It's an uncomfortable procedure. It uses a gun to inject a needle through your bottom and into your prostate to get tissue samples that are evaluated by a pathologist. Thank goodness for lidocaine to numb the area. In hindsight, you probably like that, in hindsight. I wish I could have been put under because the gun they use makes a loud popping sound, and I kind of felt like I was in a minor artillery demonstration. Well, the clinic staff was kind enough to prep me on what to expect, but I could find better ways to spend my time in a non-invasive manner. I was hoping for an MRI instead, but the biopsy was suggested. Biopsies done by a urologist are sent to this team of pathologists who evaluate those samples, and a report is sent back to your urologist or your doctor who performed the exam. In the meantime, I had been doing my research and was worried. Could I truly have cancer? Could this be BPH, which you sometimes hear about in commercials, which is really just an inflated prostate known as benign prostate hyperplasia? Or maybe it's prostatitis, a bacterial infection. It could be some other factors too, or other issues. The waiting is the hardest part. Your mind spins things in directions that make the situation possibly worse than it could be. What I deciphered and began to understand with my symptoms with a PSA velocity going from 5.1 to 5.5 and some other signs, that my chances were about a 25% that I could have the big C. After multiple calls to satisfy the urge to know, and my wife and family very concerned, I received a call on Monday evening around dinner time. Well, from what I understand, urologists spend many days in surgery, so this is an opportune time to make a call to your home or cell. Just so you know, it could make or break your dinner plans. "How's it going, Doc?" I asked nervously. "Well, the bad news is that you have cancer, but the good news is that you are at Gleason 6. I felt like I had been hit by a lightning bolt. The thunder had been rumbling inside my heart and body, but now the storm had finally struck. 4 of your 12 samples have adenocarcinoma, but there is no metastasizing, and we'll have a follow-up visit on November 26th to discuss your options." After very little small talk, I perked up. "Have a nice Thanksgiving," I said with my heart still racing. "Well, we'll talk soon," my doctor said as a matter of fact. As I pressed the end button on my cell phone, sitting in my living room, Jan was sitting across from me and started to cry. "No worries, it's Gleason 6. It hasn't spread further at this time," I said. My words were not a lot of consolation for my longtime spouse I've known and loved for 24 years. "You're tough," she said. I said, "Well, not really. I'm scared. But if it were a Gleason 7 level or higher, the scales go from 6 to 10, we would be taking other action." After letting this settle in, I called my sister, texted my sister-in-law, called a high school friend who had the same type of cancer in his late 40s for some reassurance. I was trying to prepare myself to tell my mom, and especially my brothers, since to my knowledge we do not have a history of this in our family. Well, this kind of cancer can be present in other family members too, so I needed to suggest that the men in our family do get checked for this, in addition to doing colonoscopies at age 50 and later. Well, upon reflection, when you hear the word cancer, it gives you and everyone around you pause. Also, I did not want to be an alarmist. It's funny how sometimes you know the verdict before the verification from a biopsy or MRI comes in. Your body kind of feels it. But we remain hopeful, and we want to see the best, and I know I do too. The great thing about modern medicine is that if this type of cancer is caught early, you can have a good outlook on life, have a better chance at life expectancy as well. If you're 55 or older and are a male, check that PSA with your doctor, just to be sure. It's just an indicator, but it could suggest other issues. In the meantime, I'm going to live life to the fullest. Thought I'd send this message out to you guys that maybe you're a little hesitant to investigate what your PSA level is, or the idea that you could even have prostate cancer. But it was far from my mind as well, and now I know. And I hope you have a good Thanksgiving, and I hope you check this out. Have a good one. Bye-bye.